Penis butt.
Hey, hey, hey. Hello, hello, hello. Test, test, test.
Jambalaya
Test, test.
actually tastes great. I don't know who's had jambalaya, but it's delicious.
Test, 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 test. Let me go up a little bit too on this. By the way, yay or nay on these grass accents? Like it?
I like it in the
They're
sense
just
of like
lying around, so.
I like it in the sense of like putting something on it, like the stand. Like the stand is just looks aesthetically
Well,
nice.
there's usually
on it.
nothing on it,
No, exactly.
so it's just like.
But
ooh,
when I
maybe
saw
it's
like your notepad and everything, it was aesthetic. But
yeah.
me all day, I don't know if I could put things on it like that. I would want to like stand there. Hear you, man. Thank you.
Test, test. Anyway, hello.
Guess with a Q. QAnon. Is that you?
That's not even the joke. Did you see SNL on SNL what they did on the news, the weekly news report? Michael Che told the audience not to laugh at any of the jokes from Colin Jost.
Yeah.
Like, don't laugh at any of Colin's jokes. And like he's sitting there going like, am I just like fucking up? Like, am I just not funny? And then like he made like a Trump joke which just made him look like a dirtbag, and someone in the audience went as far as to say, you stink. And then Michael Che's like, I told the audience for April Fools not to laugh at your joke. And then he was like shook for the entire rest of the thing. He's like, that's the meanest thing anybody's ever done to me. It was actually really funny. Because, I mean, like, these jokes that they're telling on like, the weekly news, they're, like, pretty risky. Like,
Yeah.
if people don't laugh, it's just, like,
It's
dead.
just mean.
It's like, they'll say things like, and I'm a member of QAnon. And it's like, if nobody laughs, nobody will get that they're,
Yeah.
like, sarcastic or whatever. Anyway, it's so funny. We should watch that. But, hold on. Are we not capturing? Dude, the background music wasn't playing through, hold on, the stream. Hold on. Now it is.
Yep, I'm canceled.
That was the funniest. I've never seen an SNL weekly update like that. That might become like a new thing just because of how funny that was. Poor Colin Jost. But then isn't he dating? I think who's Colin Jost dating? Colin Jost.
One of the Kardashians?
No.
I feel like everybody's dating one of the Kardashians.
Scarlett Johansson. He's dating Scarlett Johansson. So one of the comments on YouTube was, I felt bad for Colin Jost. Then I remembered who he goes home to every night, and now I don't feel bad.
Did you ever see the one where she's like, oh no, I'm stuck in the shower? He's like, what are you, stupid? And she's like, no, you're stupid. It's like,
Anyway, what do you want to talk about today? There's something that I did specifically want to talk about, but now I've completely forgotten what it was. It was something.
want to talk about the measures you take when opening a new room, kind of like our preparation, the marketing, the pricing, and how to plan that out.
We did that. We've done that. And also, I wonder how relatable that is to like the average layman.
No, I guess it's just in
And
general,
audio.
like opening up a space, knowing that you have to keep costs low.
Yeah. Hold on. Well, we could do that. What was I thinking of? I was literally just like, oh, would be such a great one. And I was like, Lou is definitely going to have so many great thoughts about this. Now I can't freaking remember it.
Is it cheese?
Oh, no, this one. This one.
It's a long list of this one.
How
How to be a conservative in audio.
Oh, it's almost on the brink of my Ah, man, what was it? What was it? I think it was like something either. It was something that was inspired by like Baines and TZO.
Oh, this generation is more
No,
supportive
not
to
that
each
one.
other.
Not that one. Not that one.
Their favorite
I think
plugins
it was
are the
like
most
something
basic
where, like,
plugins.
Baines said something pretty brutal, and I was like, damn, that's great. I don't remember. I'm like, maybe what about like, how about we do an episode of like what it takes to get into a room with someone or something like that? Like why most people like, first off, like location, being at the right time, right place at the right time. So like being in LA or wherever.
Did you talk about how there's a lack of fashion brands that support men with juicy asses? I'm just saying that was a real struggle for me yesterday. Because I'm trying to think, like, right now we're going into busy season. We've talked about systems before. We've talked about...
I like the idea of like, for people, because I'm thinking like for the person that's listening to the podcast, like, oh, here's what to expect of like, if you want to work with like bigger artists, like here's some things that you got to do. That's like some patterns from everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to move to a big city.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to do those shitty shifts, shitty hours. You got to be willing to like...
At a certain point, acknowledge when it's no longer viable for you to do those shitty shifts.
Yeah, and then also you got to be like hyper-focused, meaning that like it's got to be your number one.
Yeah.
You know? You can't like do music half-assed.
Yeah.
In general. What do you think about that?
I think that's good.
Because that's like an enticing title. I'm thinking from like this perspective of like a title as well as like valuable information. What do you think?
Half-assers don't make it.
That's just in general, something like that.
Yeah.
Cool. This is also a Pokemon song, right?
Yeah.
I know this is a Pokemon. All right.
Sounds like Ruby and Sapphire days.
Okay, let's do it. Ready?
Let's do it.
Hello, everybody. Let's ping the Discord because
See you for about 4 hours.
by the way, I'm officially a protein bro. I got protein yesterday. Protein.
I'm not even a protein bro.
Have you seen that
I'm protein.
that old Taco Bell?
Proteins.
Have you seen that old Taco Bell commercial where it's like protein, bro? You like protein? You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Hold on.
A Taco Bell commercial about protein?
Yeah.
What protein is in Taco Bell besides the beef? And the beef is even questionably real.
Dude, hold on. I'm gonna hold on. This is real. Hold on.
You got a protein shake.
Awesome. I love protein.
I know you love protein. I love protein too.
Oh my god, I remember
Are
this.
you guys talking about protein? I love protein. I love protein too.
We know you love protein. Protein rocks.
Awesome. Protein rocks.
Protein.
Protein. Protein.
Protein.
Protein. Protein.
Should we tell them about these?
Absolutely not.
Now there's a tastier way to get some protein with tender grilled chicken, corn sauce, and guacamole. This new Power Protein menu is packed with flavor.
Somebody give this man some protein.
Protein.
I kind of like this.
Protein. Anyway, let's get into it. Ready? Hold on. What the heck?
I'm still very fervently all for the fashion line supporting men with juicy asses more.
Wait, there's soundboards?
Mm-hmm.
Add everybody? What? We might do that later. I might do that. I gotta set it up later.
Going off?
I gotta do it later. Hold on. Where's the...
Oh, wait. Did I ever send it to you? Did I ever randomly send you a photo of Anna?
All right, let's go.
like racing to find this photo.
Okay. All right. I'm going to start recording.
Hurry up, phone. Do it. Here it is. Notice anything? It was just in the back, and I was like, nice. And then Anna didn't know what that was, so I just pulled up a YouTube video compilation of all the little littles, and I showed her the last one where it's like super enhanced, the camera's shaking and everything. He's like,
dude, that's the hold on. I actually have
a dedicated soundboard.
Oh man, is this still not okay? There we go. There we go. Okay, hold on. Wait a second. Where is it? Where is it?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
It was at this moment.
Oh, here it is.
Hey guys, your podcast about vocal production really helped me out a lot. Oh, you're welcome.
What did he say?
that
Thank you,
it
dude.
helped him.
It helped you. Good. I'm glad, man. That's what we're trying to do. Is we're trying to help. Welcome. Hello from Peru.
I love getting random FaceTime calls from numbers I don't know.
It's your mom, bro. Okay, let's get into it.
My mom's not even saved in my contacts.
Hello and welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. I'm your host DK, and with me, as always, is Larry the Lou Guy.
Okay. For a second there, I thought you were gonna go little Lou.
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, there you go. Little Lou. That was a JoJo reference for anybody who gets that. Nobody's gonna get that, and our ratings just went down.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually my nephew's favorite season of JoJo.
Really? That's
Yeah.
also one of mine as well. That's season 3 Jotaro. That's the yes.
When they go French, I think it is.
Oh, is that the Italian
When
one?
they're I think
No.
It's the one where it's
No,
all
it's Jotaro.
dudes.
It's no. It's Jotaro. It's before the Italian
Okay.
season. It's season 3. Yes. Okay. Hold on. Yeah. Because that's. Oh.
When they're in
No.
their
That's not
fancy
the French dude.
outfits.
That's not the French dude. That's his Japanese friend. Yep. All right. Anyway. Welcome back to the Mixing Music Podcast. We are excited to be here with y'all today, and we have a good episode in store. The episode is about what it takes to not make it necessarily,
But how to actually find more success in this, and I guess the trials and tribulations that you have to go through to really see some output from it.
yeah. And I think this is like a pretty flexible topic.
It is.
Because one, I think like the topic is like if you want to work with bigger names, how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Lou and I, we've both like gotten in with a few bigger names, and then also on top of that, I don't know about you, but I personally like found out that I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. So like there's that perspective too.
Yeah.
But like I know a lot of people that are like, oh, I'm so tired of living here in nowhere, Delaware. And it's like I'm just not getting the work that I want.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about a few different concepts and things in order to prepare to level up your career and work on a commercial level with bigger artists and what it takes.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about building your career in that sense, but also kind of like the things that happen, things to expect as well. I think that's fair. Is that
Yeah.
fair?
I think it is.
Yeah, I think so too.
So I have an idea of where to start.
Yeah, go for it. Lou.
So you always hear people saying, I keep trying and trying. And what is insanity by definition? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. If you're not willing to make small changes in your actual workday and your lifestyle, then this is not going to work out. This is one of those situations where some of the things that you kind of have to be ready for is, yes, eventually you may need to move, right? So sometimes you're gonna have to make a big change, but if the small changes are too much, let's say that you have to start wearing earplugs to protect your hearing, you have to try to network more, but you're socially awkward. Making small changes in your everyday life is what ultimately will help you get to that next part of your life. If you want to become the producer that everybody goes to, then everybody needs to know who you are, and you need to be able to showcase your work in front of them with some sense of pride. If you can't make that small change in your day-to-day by just saying, I'm going to try to reach out to 2 new people every week and just try to send them a folder of my music and see if they're interested in working together.
Or just trying to be their friend, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't even like try to push your stuff.
Yeah.
You don't even have to. Sorry.
Like some of my favorite clients are literally people I met just playing video games, at the studio. They saw me playing Smash one day. We got to hang out and bond over games, and then they're like, let me hear your stuff, But
that's typically how it goes, I feel like.
Yeah.
Networking through friendship.
Yeah.
So it's like, I feel like the tryhards that like networks to network.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not as
like you can
successful.
tell them out at the party. Like when they're like, oh yeah, tap this, do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, this seems like a lot of work for you to just give me your Instagram.
Yeah. Or like, why would I hire you? I don't even like you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's more about like getting people to like you in a natural way.
But if you're the socially awkward type and you're not really willing to, make these small changes to grow into the person that you seek to be, then honestly speaking, these are like the first steps, the baby steps. So part of these baby steps is honestly just learning to post on social media. If you're the type of person that doesn't actually like to be on social media all that much, I totally get it. I'm exactly the same way, but even I had to kind of get over it and just kind of start using things like CapCut to create little reels and little snapshots and things of that nature. But in today's world, like let's say you don't live in LA or New York or one of the major cities, unfortunately, you kind of need to find a way to reach out to people. Now, one of the good things that DK has done is with this podcast where, coming from the Utah area originally with his career is just like, okay, cool. There's the Utah demographic, but obviously you planned to move to LA, did you not?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So using this podcast as leverage to kind of get your name out there is actually a good way to kind of start making these smaller changes. Even though it was for your company at first, it's a nice tool. It's a nice asset that helps your growth.
So I want to split these two things up that you're talking about, which are both super important. Location and then networking. I want to split these two up. So if you want, there's a difference. So this episode, we want to kind of focus on getting to a position where you work with bigger artists, bigger names. Here's the deal. If you're in a local area or a small music scene area, there may or may not be a local studio that has one time in the last decade or two worked with a C-tier artist that's like still rumored to this day, and it's like really big deal. Oh, BYOB came to this studio 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Or like, hey, whatever it is. So that's like typical for a local music industry that's outside of the big cities. Now, here's the deal. In the last decade or two, you got one medium-sized artist to come through. Like, statistically speaking, like, that's just a bad place to be putting your bets. Now, that doesn't mean the music scene is bad, but if you're trying to work with bigger names, location is the name of the game. So this is when a big influence from this is when I was at Mix with the Masters with Leslie, and I talked to Leslie. He had a lot of thoughts and compliments about my mixing and my mix's sound. And I asked him, like, what do I need to do? I was unsatisfied, and I thought there's another step for mixing that I could take, and I'm sure there was. But he said, but he specifically said to me, in order to level up your career, sometimes it's not you getting better, sometimes it's you and your location and the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
So basically, he told me to move to a music city because it's not the mixing that's the issue.
Yeah.
If you want more clients, if you want to make more money, if you want to be a bigger deal within the music industry, whatever, that sounded like a weird thing to say out loud. But if you want to do more, then you have to be in a location where they offer more.
Yeah, your surroundings have a lot more to do with your actual output in life. It's the same reason you see people talking about, surround yourself with people you aspire to be like, because some of their habits eventually become your own. Well, unfortunately, that's not exactly the case in music. Everybody has a very different flow, and the more unique you are, the better off you are at the end of the day if it comes to like production or creative roles. But you know, let's be honest, if let's say I were to stay in Lancaster where I was born, right? There's no music scene in Lancaster. There's no major artists coming out of Lancaster, and maybe there was at some point, right? But it's not happening now. So the likelihood of me getting to work with somebody of a higher tier than, you know, other people are currently working with is so unlikely that I have to get myself closer to the action. I have to go intern for a studio that has the action going on, that actually has these clients booking out studio sessions. But if that's not currently happening in your neighborhood, you're kind of hitting the ceiling, you know? Like once you've capped out on like the biggest artists in your neighborhood, well, you have to look outside of your neighborhood anyways. So you can only get as good as what your surroundings kind of make it out to be, you know?
That's true. So if you want to, by the way, I don't believe you need to have, you need to be in LA or Nashville or somewhere like that, New York, in order to make a living or to be happy or satisfied with your career.
Yeah,
we're specifically talking about if you want to work with bigger artists.
Yeah.
Then
the B and A list.
Yeah, like and up. Like if you ever even want to work with like S tier artists.
S tier, yeah.
Which by the way is such like a Japanese tier listing thing. Anyway, we're not going to get into
we can also do SR.
There you go. And then but anyway, so that's another thing. So I know we're specifically talking about working with bigger clientele, not necessarily success on a personal level. Because I could have stayed in Utah, made more money, a lot of money, done very well. But I also wanted the opportunity to work with labels on commercial music and stuff like that. So that's specifically what we're talking about. We're going to kind of keep that in that frame of reference. So if you want to work with big labels, if you want to work with big artists, you got to move to a big music city. Like now in like, for example, in Los Angeles, it's not that one studio that had that one C tier artist. It's every studio on the block consistently has S tier artists, A tier artists coming in. And it was like within the last 3 months.
Yeah.
Like there's all of the artists
within the last week.
Yeah, within the last week. So, and then there's also the legendary studios where it's like an everyday occurrence. Like the scale of how much opportunity for big artists is just totally wild. It's not once in a decade. It's every single hour of every day. There's a studio on every corner that has big artists. So the second thing is, how do you get into these big studios or get into this position? I want to split this up into two topics. Number one is the networking thing.
Yep.
And I want to also talk about the skill thing. So I want to first jump into the skill thing, kind of just get that out there.
Yeah.
The common question that I like to bring up is, if you were being thrown into a room with Drake right now at your experience level, you didn't earn it, you just got into it right now, how likely are you able to keep your nerves and just do your best, either producing or recording, or like with Young Thug, right, who is an engineer himself? Like, would you be able to keep up under the pressure?
Yeah.
Like, these people are super experienced. They know what they're doing. They know what they want. At your level of experience right now, can you keep up and hold yourself together? And if they get mad at you, like, hey, like, you fucked up, man, would you be able to keep your composure to continue to work with them in the future?
Yeah, see, and I feel like that's in itself is a two-stager, because there's the personality and there's the technical skill. The personality almost outweighs the technical at a certain point, because your ability to communicate effectively and know how to read the room is extremely important. If you're in a session with Drake, like, I hate to say it, but you know, he's got his entire posse with him. It might just be him alone. It might be at his house. It might be at a major studio. So your technical skill needs to be able to cover everything from a home studio recording on a basic setup to an advanced studio, where they can conform it to however you want. But if Drake says, you know what, let's mix this down on the console, you better be ready for the console. But on a personality level, let's say that you don't know the console and you need to sum it down. Can you effectively communicate in a way where it's like it's not going to be detrimental to the session? If you need a little more time on something and he's trying to push you through it, can you communicate effectively like it's going to take 2 more seconds?
Yeah, I'm also thinking like, imagine someone that's really good at Pro Tools or like really good at
And they're
everything,
watching you.
and they've just never worked with a big artist, so it's like they're
They
just
can't
like they're
communicate.
nervous. They're
Yeah.
so nervous,
Yeah.
and then they get yelled at once, and then they just emotionally crumble.
Like without naming names, we've kind of seen that already, even in our own studio, where like we've had people step up to the engineering chair, they have a tough session, and they're like, you know what, not for me.
Yeah, and that happens
me.
all the time. You'd be surprised how many people it happens to.
Yeah, like they knew what they were doing. They just social setting of it all was not for them.
I think it's like pretty common for these big engineers, modern and old, to have like horror stories, and the reason why they're legendary now is because they have the patience and the capacity and the confidence to be able to just deal with the horror stories that roll along. Granted, the horror stories are just every once in a while,
Yeah.
but I mean, there's a lot of people that can't handle it even once.
Yeah.
And that's another thing too. Like another thing that we always joke about and say is if you have to eat shit, don't nibble.
Just yeah.
So it's like there's going to be times where your desire to work with bigger artists has to outweigh the level of stress that you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because here's the deal. If you want to make more money, if you want to level up your career, that means you have to deal with more bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you do not have the capacity to deal with more bullshit, then you will never be able to find your way to up that ladder. Like, it doesn't get easier at the top. Now at the top, there's potentially millions of dollars at play and at risk. And maybe these artists up there are broke, and they got like one chance.
Yeah.
They can't. There's a lot of stress at the top, and if you cannot deal with that amount of stress, then you're not going to be able to like stay up there, and let alone return back. So one is skill level. Are you able to hold your nerves, hold down, even if you are experienced? Are you able to keep it down? I think working with celebrities or working with people that are really high level is something that you should practice. Like the first time I met someone that was big, it's like, whoa, like I kind of got like shell shocked a little bit, like whoa, and then I wasn't able to perform at my best. And then there was another time where like that pressure was there. I was like super confident. I remember the first time working with Trey Songz. Like I remember I called you. Do you remember that? I was like, for some reason I'm not nervous at all. I'm like really fucking confident.
Yeah.
And I was like, and that was like one of the best, as far as like an emotional perspective, one of the best sessions I could have ever done, ever.
Yeah. But do you remember what one of the things that made him confident with you? It's the fact that you knew vocal production.
Oh, right. Well,
So-
there's a few different things. To be honest, like I really killed that session.
Yeah.
Like I'm confident he's had very few better engineers in that
Yeah.
time. And it wasn't because of my ability to use Pro Tools.
Yeah. But that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, the reason most people end up becoming somebody's personal engineer, if that's your goal, or the reason that somebody actually ends up getting the call back, you know, just for consistency's sake, right? Like it's a group of artists that you work with, but they all call you back consistently. A lot of times it's not your technical skill, because me and you both have seen where, like, you know, we question the engineer in the middle of a session when we get asked like, hey, this isn't working. We're like, did you lower the buffer? Like, is that why you have latency? Oh, you put ozone on the master bus while recording? Like, this is odd. But the reason they're getting the call to work with the artist, because the artist believes them to be a good hang. They actually know what they're doing and what's best for the artist, this and that. And a lot of times it's not technically their skill that's getting them booked. It's literally the trust and relationship that they have with that artist. You know, and that's where like the marketing side of things I think is important. You know, I think the fact that you can build trust within your community even before they book you is a big factor in whether you'll get a call back or not. Because if you worked with somebody once and it didn't go well, you probably won't call them again. But if you could build trust in that relationship, even if there was a few errors, they might still call you back.
That's true. That is very true. Let's overview what we've talked about then. So number one is location. Right?
Yep.
Being where there are opportunities.
Yeah.
If you want to, and that being said, again, that's separate from finding success in your local area, which you could totally do. But if you're really competitive and that doesn't satisfy you for whatever reason, we won't get into the psychology of that, then you want to go to a good area. Number 2 is experience and skill. Skill from a know your tools perspective, but also experience working with bigger names. And number 3 is very similar to that, which is being able to work under pressure.
Yeah.
Or being able to handle these high stress scenarios. That is what you're talking about as well. It's a really big deal. Now let's go into how do you get into positions that do hire or get that call back, right? Number 1, it doesn't just happen overnight. Like, so if you move to LA or Nashville or New York or whatever, 1, you have to build a reputation and know people. And one of the ways to do that, and this is the unfortunate truth, is that if you are to a point in your life, this is the reason why it's best to do this when you're young, when you can live on pizza every single day and it won't kill you. Like, this is why, like, the worst person to be in this scenario where they move and want to do this, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is probably the most difficult, is like a mid 30-year-old brand first time mom.
Yeah.
It's like, that's probably like the most difficult time to do something like this, because the fact of the matter is, like, you got to be in a position where you don't have that many other responsibilities. And you don't have to take care of anybody else, and you don't even have to take care of yourself, because the way to get into these doors, oftentimes, like, being able and willing to take last minute horrible sessions. Horrible sessions meaning, like, timing, like, okay, they call you at 8:30 p.m. to start a session at 9 that goes till 9 in the morning.
Like, it's a red flag when you get a last minute late night call, and it's for like an artist that a manager's calling for, and you're like, wait, I recognize that name. What, they don't already have like a go-to engineer? There's usually probably a reason why. It's probably not the greatest session to get the call for right away. Yeah, many times the sessions you're after, and this is the harsh reality of why you need to take these less desirable sessions, because I don't want to call them bad sessions. I've had many great last minute sessions, but I've also had like very, very awkward ones where like the artist didn't even record just because they didn't know who I was, and they felt
I'm okay with those because I'm just getting paid to sit there.
Yeah, but it's awkward when it's awkward time for 12 hours.
That's true.
Yeah, but with that said,
have you ever worked with an artist that are like so damn high that's just like they're just not there mentally?
There was a time where we left an artist behind mutually. He was slumped in the chair.
I remember that.
Yeah, I don't deal with that. Ever since that day, I don't deal with it at all.
Hilarious.
But the reality is this: the reason that you want to, just eat shit for a while, is that most good artists that everybody wants to work with, that are great to work with, and you have a blast working with, their engineers aren't quitting anytime soon.
Yeah.
And those engineers are calling back trying to see when the next session is, because they want to keep in rotation with that artist before somebody else gets it and stays in rotation.
Yeah.
Because those are the desirable sessions. Now, the ones that don't have a consistency in engineers, it's usually not a bad thing. It just usually means that like they don't have enough work for the need of a consistent engineer, right? But that isn't always the case as well. Sometimes you're dealing with an artist that's much more difficult to handle, and the great thing about this is that management take notice of this. Management can see how you work with artists all the time, and that's actually one of the reasons I got booked a lot, and to this day why I still get calls from like certain artists managers, because they're like, hey, I like how you work with so and so, like I know they're not easy to work with, like I have an artist I've been trying to like get in the studio. Do you mind like giving them a shot? This and that. It's like, yeah, sure, no worries. And the managers are starting to send me clients because they know that, even if the session is difficult, there's a way to navigate it and get the job done.
Yeah.
So once again, part of the whole, like, you got to eat shit sometimes is because you have to build trust, not necessarily with the artist specifically, but the people that surround the artist sometimes.
Yeah. And I specifically before I use the example of like middle-aged brand new moms, but I think that in general I've had a lot of people DM me and a lot of people work with me, and they're like, in their 30s, maybe even their 40s that want to do this. And it's like, what I'm not saying is that I'm not saying that it's not possible, but I am saying that the best time in your life to do something like that, what you're talking about, like just being there and being available, is when you're young. Because you don't have as much bills, you don't have as much responsibility, and it's significantly more difficult when you are used to a full-time income, and you're used to, and you have mouths to feed, and you have people to take care of, and you don't have time to just focus on yourself anymore. It's incredibly difficult. So for anybody that's wanting to get music career at an later age in their life, and this is like, I know I have a lot of friends who I deeply love and care about that are in this position. They decided to do something else and now they want to come back into and do something creative. Most people cannot do that. In fact, I've had a lot of interns that are significantly older than me, a lot of people that are friends that are significantly older than me that wanted to do this, or even similar to my age currently. And it's just, I've never seen, it's never worked out for a single person. I don't know a single example. And I know a lot of people. Do you know a single example who like went from nothing to like doing okay?
Yes, but that's not in music.
Yes, specifically as an engineer.
Yeah. Post-production, yes, but I also know that a
post-production
lot of,
because there's actually careers in that.
Yeah, there's like full-on
Benefits.
Departments and marketing firms and
Editing union, the editing guild.
Oh
Okay,
my
that's
God.
different, but
Yeah.
specifically music.
Yeah, specifically music, it's extremely difficult, especially because you're dealing with two factors that also deal with age.
Yeah.
One is knowing what's relevant today,
Oh, I didn't even
which
consider
means
that.
you have to, like, and this is where, like, me as a mixing engineer who likes rock and metal and banda and a bunch of other genres, like, I can kind of fit myself in different genres, and some genres have older generations, like banda music and all that kind of stuff, like Latin music. They don't give a shit if you're 60. You can still make a 20-year-old bop. You know, they really don't care. But if you're doing something like hip hop, like, depending on what genre of hip hop it is, like, you might not be in touch with it anymore.
Which might also be your benefit.
It might be your benefit too. But
If
let's
you stay
say
out
that
of touch with it,
yeah,
then like,
let's say
enough.
that you're in your 40s and you're trying to become Drake's new producer. You gotta have something that he's never heard before, or something that's like a sample, because he loves samples, of something really dope that nobody else has brought up, which might be in your favor.
And according to that last album that he just dropped, he doesn't even care how poorly you flip a sample.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
could be
It
a
could be the
very
worst.
poorly
Yeah.
flipped sample.
Yeah.
In fact, you could be like 12 and probably produce for Drake, according to his last album, bro. Those beats were just so uninspiring. The one with 21 Savage, it's a cool album. Those beats are just so uninspiring.
I hate to say that.
I'll be open about it. Like,
I hate to
I've
say
heard
it was last album for me, but it's been no album for me.
Dude, the album before that, where it's like a little bit more EDM, I think was way more inspiring.
I'm not gonna lie,
Significantly more.
yeah.
It was not well received by the general audience because it was so different.
Yeah.
But I thought it was way inspiring because it was different.
I'm not gonna lie, that's actually like the one album that I was like, okay, Drake, I like this little switch up. Like,
Yeah,
I
I
see
thought
your
that was
voice
dope.
fitting a little better for this. I like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's true. It has nothing to do with age. What we're talking about has nothing to do with age,
It
but it has
literally just
everything to do with
Awareness of what's going on.
awareness with what's going on, but as well as like responsibilities.
Yeah.
Like, if you have too many responsibilities on your plate, it is definitely more difficult to do so. So if you are young, if you are in your late teens,
Like, if you have
early
a full-time
20s,
job that's paying your bills right now, you should not be quitting.
dude, yeah, if you really, really want it. Because here's the thing, it's like, the reason why it's okay for like post-production editing is because there's jobs, there's unions, there's actual like benefits, they pay really well. Like, that's something that you can transition into. But if you want to do music, there's no salaried jobs. Like, I've never heard, there's very few salaried engineer jobs,
And that
especially
even
with
then-
benefits.
That's like you went to go work for Capitol.
Yeah, you got to go work for, like, I know, like, Jenny works for Spotify now, Spotify Studios.
Shit, no way.
Yeah, she's been working for Spotify, and like, there's like a few salaried positions, but I'm not even sure they're W-2. I think they might be 1099.
might
They
be
got to pay their own
1099,
insurance. Like, it's not gonna happen. That's the problem with having such a cool and high The problem with having such a high value job in the sense of like so many people want to mix and want to record and want to do music, and there's actually so little. There's so much competition, so much demand, but not enough. Demand versus supply. There's not enough supply of the job of like positions like that out there. So it's
Now,
like,
I will say this, I brought this up before in our like studio meetings, but there's a lot of demand for a good engineer.
oh,
There's a lot of demand right now for a good
great
engineer. Yeah, especially from studios, hit up studios like.
And
in the
also,
mix.
dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of people, this is a great time to also figure out. A lot of people think that they're great, but then they move to LA and they're like, holy shit, I don't know anything.
Yeah, there was a.
I know, because at the same time, there's a big need for great engineers in LA, even. Specifically because, not because there's a lack of engineers out here, there's way too many engineers out here, but a lot of them fucking suck.
Yeah.
A lot of them suck.
Most of the great opportunities that I've found is because somebody sucked.
Yes.
I hate to admit it,
that's a
but like,
great opportunity to swoop in and just win them over.
yeah, I hate to say it, but like, one of the ways I found a job once to mix an album, funny enough, was in Studio A, and I really hate like admitting to this because it feels dirty to me, just the way it happened. They couldn't figure out how to get the monitor controller to work.
What?
Yeah, they couldn't figure out how to switch speakers, even though the button that's really big and in the middle that says speaker 1, and then right above it is speaker 2, and right above that is speaker 3. And that was when we had the PMCs, the Questids, and the JBLs working. He couldn't figure out how to get the sound to work.
Okay, so it's literally just a moron.
Yeah, and so the client's like, oh yeah, we're just trying to mix this record. It's like, oh, okay, dope. And once I got the speakers working, he's like, hey, do you mind just listen to it real quick and like let me know what you think? I'm like, of the mix or the record? He's like, both. I was like, sure. And I just kind of like pointed out the areas that should be corrected. This not like some masking the little mids and blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, just pay attention to that. Your engineer should have it from here. And he's like, okay, cool. And I stepped out for like 2 hours. The guy walks out. He's like, yo, how much would you charge to like just mix these records? Because like this guy's making it sound really bad. I was like, oh. Like kicking him out of the room. He's like, no, like I'll just pass you the songs like after the session. I was like, oh, it's that bad in there.
Yeah, that's great opportunity. Same thing with like my mixing stuff. You know how many times, dude, this happened a few times last month. No, twice last month.
Ooh.
No. And once already this month is they hired somebody else and it wasn't good. And good doesn't necessarily mean the mix was bad. The mix could be great, but the experience
to
was
the
bad.
artist.
Yeah, the experience was bad.
Yeah.
Is often the time. Like I would say, like 3 or 4 out of 5 times, it wasn't even about the mix. It was about the experience. Like there was no communication. They didn't know what was going on. No emails back and forth. The engineer kept ghosting them. It took them forever to give them like turn around the project or whatever, do revisions. Obviously, the engineer just wasn't prioritizing this artist.
Yeah.
And then they hire me, and my mix could have been worse and probably better, actually. And all of a sudden, now they're my forever client, and I make thousands of dollars off of them over the course of the next years. So it's like it's.
But see, does it not like because we do this full time? Does it not feel like we still have to dedicate a good amount of time to that client experience?
Oh, of course.
So
that's where my pride is.
Yeah, but that's also going back to like if you have a full-time job, if let's say you have kids or something, not to say that having kids is bad, like you have kids and you're able to do this.
Hoping to have more.
Like you realize how much time you have to dedicate not only to your own responsibilities, but how much of a responsibility it is to make sure the client's good. Make sure that communication is there. That sometimes they'll try to hit you up after hours, and sometimes it's okay to have a conversation, but also knowing how to set up those boundaries. Like these are all things we have to learn the more we grow in this. But at the beginning stage, we don't really have that much luxury in saying, oh, I'll talk to you later. Sometimes you have to pick up a call at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite sessions that I talk about just because it was like a good learning experience. And like Anna fervently remembers this.
Oh, is it about that band she loves?
No.
No.
The Ray J session that I got invited to.
Oh, got it.
I got a call at 2 a.m.
Oof.
And it was one of the producers. He's like, hey, bro, like, one of my hard drives just died, and I'm in a session with like this big artist, and like we're trying to play him the records that I wrote, but like the hard drive won't come on. Like, is there anything we can do? I'm like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? And I'm like trying to help him from bed. And he's like, dude, it's just not working. I'm like, all right. He's like, is there any way you can come through? I'm like, bro, like I'm in bed with my girl right now. Like you seriously? He's like, bro, I could toss you like $100. He's like, I'm like, all right. I drive up to North Hollywood to 17 Hertz Studios. We're right there on Lincolnshire. And I walk in, and he's like, yeah, the artist is in that room right there, and we're in this room, and then there's the live room. I'm like, okay, cool. So it's a hallway to 3 rooms. But I fix his hard drive. I show him that the files are there and everything. He's like, dope. He walks in the other room, hands over the hard drive to somebody, and he walks back. He's like, hey, the other engineer is getting tired. Do you have any interest in actually like running the session? I was like, for how long? He's like, for like 4 or 5 hours. I was like, sure. I walk in, it's a SSL console and everything, and it's Ray J in the booth. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, it was one of those things where like if I didn't pick up that 2 a.m. call, I wouldn't have been in the room with Ray J. And you know, I'm not saying Ray J is the biggest catch, but you know, 7 years ago, the Smoke Cloud album is what it was.
Dude, if you're from Kentucky, Ray J's a big deal.
No, exactly. But we're in LA, and
If you're from Utah,
you know.
Ray J's a big deal.
But
it's like, that's crazy to think about. That's like,
Yeah.
it's not that big of a deal to you because you're from LA. You know?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, that's so wild.
But it's one of those where like, you know, he was working on Smoke Clouds. I never got the credit for it, but I recorded the titular song Smoke Clouds, or I recorded a good amount of it. But you know, I got the experience. I got in the room, and then I actually got callbacks for 4 more sessions.
There you go.
For that same album, which was really dope, and they all happened at 17 Hertz. Like everything was really cool. But it was one of those where like I was 25 years old. I'm turning 32 this month. So I was 25 years old, and it was just me and my girl in a 1-bedroom apartment paying $900 a month, you know, in Alhambra. I drove a 2003 Civic that I didn't have payments on anymore. You know, I had the lowest possible cost I could possibly have so that I can continue doing this. And I worked from home. I didn't have a big studio or anything. I just networked with people and tried to build good relationships, and that resulted in somebody calling me when their hard drive died.
Mm-hmm.
And that resulted in a Ray J session and 3 more after that.
Yeah. So that's the thing that happens when you're available. So I do think, kind of closing this podcast episode, let's go over it one more time. Location. Yeah. And then we talked about experience and skill. We've talked about the ability to handle with stress. We've talked about networking. Let's talk about into practically now. Now you're in LA, you're working hard. Maybe you're even getting good at Pro Tools or whatever it is. Which, by the way, if you want to work with these bigger artists, you have to know Pro Tools. Yeah. It's not good. You can get away if you know Logic or Ableton. If you're a producer, then it doesn't matter. But if you're trying to be an engineer specifically, you have to know Pro Tools. It doesn't matter. Whether or not you like Pro Tools, you have to know Pro Tools and be good with it. As an engineer. As a producer, it matters less. But if you can produce and engineer, that's a dangerous combo. It's a great combo to have, so might as well just learn Pro Tools. Anyway, so the last thing is, okay, now you're there, you're in the right place, you have the mindset, you have the ability, you have the lack of responsibility, and you're just trying to get into these big rooms. You're not going to get calls at 8 p.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning. You know, you're not going to get those calls just because you're in the location. The last thing is like now a practical advice is to either intern, go up to studios, talk to them about these studios often do need last minute engineers. Like you don't have to go to the biggest ones, just find some local ones. Even the local ones have great credits and big artists coming through all the time.
Oh yeah.
So just go around to the studios, make sure that you're available, go through their training programs if they have any. You don't have to spend money. You don't have to go to a school. And just make sure that you're available. Take donuts as well. Have resumes. From someone that looks at a lot of resumes, keep your resume super simple. And if you don't, just put in the relevant information. Like I don't give a shit if you worked at Sprouts or if you worked at Barnes and Nobles, but I do give a shit that like you know how proficient you are at Pro Tools, how many songs you've worked on in the past, or if you have any like experience owning or running at a studio, assisting for an engineer. Those are things that matter more. If you know how to video edit,
I will say this about your resume: don't flourish it with stuff that you can be called out on easily. Even if you
common
think,
sense.
Yeah, even if you think you know about, let's say, Pro Tools, right? But you've never ran a major session, you're like Pro Tools expert. Chances are
you're not
the owner of the studio is a Pro Tools expert, which is why they know how to run a business like a studio and stay afloat. It's slightly detrimental, and I say slightly because everybody gets room to grow. That's the point of an internship, right? But if out the gate you've been caught in a lie, it's not a good look.
Yeah, I will say that it's better to say I have less experience, but I'm very fast at learning, and more importantly, dedicated to learning.
Yeah.
Like this is going to be a priority for me. I'd rather have that resume than someone that says I'm really good at what I do, and then I find out that they're not good.
Yeah.
That's how you don't get called back.
I always tell people, like, I don't mind repeating myself. I just mind when I'm repeating myself to a wall. Like, if you're not going to grow, then that's it. Cool. I would rather have somebody who's completely new. Like Henry's a good example of this. He never used Pro Tools before, and he got to the point within a year where he was engineering a Keisha session for me because I wasn't available.
Great.
You know, like within a year you can get there. But that's what, like, he was there at the studio almost every day. There was times where I had to tell him to go home.
Yeah. So, I mean, practically as well, another practical thing too is going back to the networking thing. Now, as much as you can, you want to network with people who are going to hire you. And again, networking equals just becoming friends with. You don't have to give them a business card and make it about business. But like, go out to these. There's a lot of like get-togethers and parties, meet and greets. Go to all of them, even if you're just an awkward person, and then just go and meet people. As an engineer, it's better to know A&R and producers than other engineers, but even if you just get to know, because other engineers aren't going to hire you. But that being said, I've been hired a lot by other engineers that weren't able to make it, and they needed a backup, someone else that can back me up and do it. Yeah. So if you can work with an engineer, do so more on like a personal level, and then you're going to be the first time you're going to get an opportunity to work with someone, you're going to be the backup of the backup of the backup. And if you say no to that one opportunity, you're probably going to lose the opportunity for future callbacks.
And this is actually, that's a really good thing to bring up, because unfortunately every studio operates with that, even if you aren't new. Let's say that you're the regular guy for a certain studio and you're trying to build opportunities with this new person who hasn't really given you a lot, but because of that you're turning down sessions at your regular location. I understand the want to grow, but the more you say no, even if you're a veteran, the less you look available, and the more they're going to have to rely on somebody else. So I've seen a lot of veterans lose their spot because of availability.
Yeah. So and that's okay for some people too. Like
the veteran might have
days,
actually found a better situation.
Yeah, or like they're comfortable. Like for now, and this is where I get a little bit out of touch, because I came out here, and just speaking briefly on personal experience, I came out here and a couple things. I started hitting milestones way too fast, which led to like a deep level of like unhappiness and depression. We won't get into that, but there's something beautiful about earning things, like going through difficult things to get what you want. Like, it's difficult to get what you want is more beautiful than it just happened. And for me, when I moved here, I was so ready to work hard, and everything just kind of clicked into place too fast, and I went into a major depression, but we won't even go into that. But I'm talking also like the fact that I'm no longer in the marketplace. I'm not actively, like, if you call me at 8 p.m. and say come in for a session, I will say no. I don't care if you're Drake. I will say no. Like, I have very hardcore boundaries.
And that sucks, because I was about to tell you, I have a Drake session for you at 8.
Dude, here, this is crazy. This is crazy. Like, if you told me earlier in the day and I found that it was worth it for the credit, dope. But if you call me at 8:30 for a 9 p.m. Drake session, I probably won't say yes.
Yeah.
It depends. Maybe I would once, but it's got to be like if it's Drake, right? Just if it's Drake. But if it's like another B tier artist, I probably wouldn't.
Smoke Perp?
I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
I do like some of Smoke Perp's song. I'm not gonna lie to you. But that's the thing too. It's like Okay.
I don't wanna finish it.
Anyway, there's I'm in a position right now where, and I don't know if you are. I mean, you're more flexible than I am because I've got kids, but yeah, like I'm just in a position right now where like I'm good with where I'm at. I make enough money from just working at home in my own boundaries. I work like 9 to 5, 9 to 6, Monday through Friday. I don't even work on the weekends. And like I'm like booked out the wazoo. Like I'm busy during that 40 hours. And I probably work a little bit more than 40 hours. And I want to spend time with kids more than I do want to work with an artist. And so like I'm in a different position right now. So I am now, to a certain degree, depending on what we're talking about, like I'm out of the marketplace for that.
Yeah.
So like even Lou has called me and be like, hey, can you do this session with this bigger artist? And I'm like, hell yeah, Lou, that's awesome. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, like recently I actually spoke with one of the artists that I work with a lot, and you know, they're like, oh, I haven't seen you around. I was like, oh, I'm working on this project, this and that, like, and you know, it's got me pretty busy. And the reality is like
Such a power move to say no to big artists.
It is, but it's a dangerous power move. It's a dangerous power move because once again,
You got to commit to that.
who's the backup?
Yeah, you got to
Who's the
commit to that.
backup?
But that
Yeah.
being said, like, I'm also imagining, like, there's lots and lots of people that want to be given that opportunity that
Yep.
honestly deserve that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I don't feel bad for saying no because, yes, I missed that opportunity, but I know I'm passing it on to someone that needs it more than I do.
Yeah.
So I think it works out. It works out better for the artist. It works out better for the engineer. It works out better for, well, depend. If you know someone, then it works out better for you because now you have somebody else that you know you could trust.
Yeah.
Right. But that being said, like if you call someone and it's a risk, every time you get recommended, it's a total risk. Let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah.
Giving recommendations is a risk.
It's a
You
risk.
are so if you were if you know Lou and Lou has never watched you work, he just likes you, which is a great way to get recommended to do something. And Lou knows that you're a recording engineer, you record, you're comfortable with Pro Tools. That's all he knows about. He's never seen you work. He doesn't know if you lied about your ability to use Pro Tools, but he likes you enough to give you this opportunity with, let's say, Keisha Cole, right? Or just another
Anybody.
Anybody, doesn't matter. And he gives you that opportunity. Right? That is a risk on Lou, and you are a liability because if you mess it up or if you upset the artist,
I just won't recommend you anymore.
not only will you not be recommended, but your name is now going to be shit on. Nobody's going to very few people, like Lou's circle is gone, and anybody tied with Lou is gone. And so what you want to do, it's like low-key damage control, and then if you are good enough and experienced enough, you're going to be recommended even more. Now, if you do it, like if you recommend someone, you take that risk and give someone the opportunity and they kill it. They're
it looks
so
better on me.
happy. It makes Lou look like he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
To both the manager, the A&R, the artist, or whatever. Like, it makes Lou look good. But if Lou, like, for example, when I moved out here, I recommended the same person to 2 different artists, local artists, no big deal, local artists, and the person that I recommended fucked up so bad that both of those artists actually like called me with death threats, which is a whole nother
Oh,
thing.
God. Yeah.
We won't even get into, which is
Yeah.
a whole drama thing. But like, it comes back. So if it's good or bad, it comes back to the person that's. It's a big risk.
Think about like how a contractor works, right? You want a house built, or maybe you're just renovating your backyard, right? We'll just use a backyard as an example. You just got grass and turf in the backyard, right? But you're like, you know what? I'd love a good barbecue pit. And you hire a contractor. The contractor's gonna be like, okay, I got a brick guy because they want this special kind of gray brick or something. But then you hire the guy and then it comes out wrong. The client's not looking at the brick guy, he's looking at you, the
That's true.
contractor. You know, I don't care about the brick guy.
Why'd you recommend
Did you
this
not
guy?
communicate with the brick guy? Did you not know that he didn't have the right brick? I thought we talked about this. Like, you know what I need.
Yeah.
Why'd you bring me somebody that doesn't know what I need?
So if you want to be recommended, be reliable and
Yep.
be great. Be great.
Yeah.
And you got one chance, man. You got one chance.
Yeah, and that's why it's honestly really important. If you're gonna make a recommendation, be very careful of who you recommend, because just like how DK said, it does come back. Well, they might not take your recommendations in the future.
And let me be really tough and sincere about this as
Yeah.
well, because here's the deal. If you get recommended and you have the skill and you're really good, you just didn't personally, emotionally get along with the artist, so they have a bad experience. Not because you're bad at Pro Tools or
Yeah.
anything, but because you just didn't get along, you clashed or butt heads or whatever. One, that probably means you didn't do your job and you didn't shut up enough. You probably talk too much, and you didn't know your place. But even if that happens, that's so few and far between that. Dude, if you didn't have a good experience or it didn't work out, it's probably because you suck. It's not because the artist, it just didn't work out with the artist. It's because you need to understand that you have a lot more to improve. Don't let cognitive bias get in your way. You probably suck, and it's more important that you admit it than it is to be like, oh, it was just a bad experience. We just didn't click. No, that's probably true too, but it also was because you suck and you couldn't handle it. If you were great, then the artist would have had a decent experience, even if you clashed heads. But it also,
if it's an idea you don't like and the artist does, that's a big factor in whether the artist has a good time or not.
That's the problem with nowadays. Way too many people are dishonest to each other and then dishonest with themselves. Like way too many people are like, I know I'm good, but that was just a bad experience. No, you're not good. That's why that was a bad experience. And you're losing a great learning opportunity by not admitting to the truth.
Because as we communicated, good is more relative to not just technical skill, but your personal skill.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So if it was a bad experience, it could have been one of two factors. But if one of those factors suck, you still suck.
So here's the thing. I do not like to sugarcoat things and say, hey, it's going to be fine. No, it's not going to be fine. Like if you fucked up, you've lost a big opportunity. But the good news is you're going to get a lot more. But it's, again, going back to, it's really, really, really valuable and important to know where you stand, to know what your boundaries are, know what you're willing to do, know what your skill level is relative to other people, and to commit. That's the last thing that I want to add is your ability to commit and to focus.
Yeah.
So if you come out here and you're like, hey, I'm going to do my engineering thing, but you're a responsible human being that's like, okay, I'm going to get a day job. That's a very responsible thing that everybody should do. You should do that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something right now. If you're a hyper-focused, irresponsible tard, where you're willing to go broke to do nothing else other than engineering, you're more likely to make it, unfortunately.
Which is why it's probably better to do it when you're 20.
Yeah.
So not that it's impossible, but...
Dude, there's something about because I know a lot of, and we call it the golden handcuffs. You come out here, you get a nice cushy job, now you got golden handcuffs. Now you're unable to leave that and risk everything for that 8 p.m. gig because you got a job at 6 a.m. the next day that is consistent and pays pretty well, and you could pay rent with. You're not willing to risk that regular job for this one-time high-risk scenario. You don't even know if you're going to get called back. And you don't even know if you're going to get paid for it. So it's like it's
kind of funny. There is one way to, and this isn't surefire because it's still time consuming. But if let's say you have kids, let's say you have a wife, let's say you have a mortgage or a husband, doesn't really matter what. You could have a dog, but. Let's say that you are kind of glued to your situation, both in location and profession, right? But you're having a hard time finding ways to build trust with people around you and network and look for opportunities. There's one thing I did notice on YouTube, and this is something I like to do. I like to look at YouTubers' mixing rates. They're typically 1,000 plus per mix. And then when I look at the actual credits, it's never somebody I've ever heard of in the genres that they're actually pitching. Like there was one that was like a
they're not like A-tier artists.
They're not A-tier artists or B-tier. They're typically like C-tier and below. And the C-tier was like a song that was like on a TV show, not an actual album release or something. I'm not talking shit about the YouTuber themselves, but think about it. They wouldn't put the price if people weren't paying for it. And most people will say, send me a quote versus buy now. I have a buy now feature in my website, but I don't have it like publicly. Like I don't just promote $500 or whatever. Just go to my website. If you like the price, you can buy now. If you need a different price point or something, you can always ask me for a quote. If you want to do an album, you can ask me for a quote. But if you want to just statically book, some of these YouTubers are charging 1,000 plus with no credits.
That's because, dude, trust goes longer. Trust goes further. So further.
And content creation, I'm not saying it's easy because trust me, DK, you've seen my videos. They suck.
Nice self-deprecating.
I'm just saying
humor.
The content is good. The the execution of the editing is just subpar.
Editing, yeah.
Yeah, the editing is subpar. I'm not very aesthetic.
What is the I think there's like a general rule of thumb that I've heard. It's like in order to do well on YouTube, you got to have 2 of 3 things. You got to have good editing, interesting topics, or like a great personality, and you got to pick 2. If you don't have a great personality, you got to have good editing and interesting topics. And if you don't have good editing, you got to have a good personality and interesting topics.
What if you only have a good personality?
Oh yeah, you need to learn some editing.
So the funny thing is this, like, these guys have built guys, girls, it's whatever. They build trust in their community by creating content that is not just supporting of themselves, but if you target it properly, like let's say as an artist, this is how an engineer would approach your mix. As an artist, this is how this, or as an artist, this is how I like to work with my engineers. And then that might actually attract engineers to want to work with you because they see how you like to work with engineers. They might resonate with that, whatever. Point is that if you can find a way to build trust without actually having to lose your current situation, you could still do this at 30, 40, 50, 60. There's, what's his name? All he does is review music. And like he's like the greatest top 10 drum fills, and then he'll have his buddies play the drums in his studio, and he's just promoting his studio the whole time. He'll play the guitar and play the licks and explain why he likes the licks so much and why they work so well musically. And because of this guy, even though he was already producing a lot, think about it, rock and roll doesn't really sell as much as it used to, but yet he's finding a lot more clients because of his YouTube channel.
Maybe if we should do an episode about how to make a living from engineering or producing in your local area.
Yeah.
In your local area, because that's separate again from what we're talking about today, which is like working with celebrities, right? But like,
but if you're trying to get the referrals,
thanks to the internet, there's ways that you can overcome the trust barrier so much more efficiently, so much faster, and so much more scalably.
Yeah.
Scalable.
In a much more scalable sense.
Yeah, there you go. In a much more scalable way.
Yeah.
Anyway, by the way, this episode and these future episodes from now on, we don't really have to talk about it, but I'm going to start dropping Sweetwater links.
Nice.
Yeah, we are now an official partner with Sweetwater, so anytime that you click the link, we'll just do mixingmusicpodcast.com /
sponsors.
Sweetwater.
Nice.
Mixingmusicpodcast.com / Sweetwater. What it does is it takes you to like our special affiliate link, and if you buy anything within, I think, within like a week or 2 of clicking our link, which is like it captures your cookies or whatever it is, we get like a solid like 5 pennies, dude. We get 5%. But I mean, if you're gonna buy something that's pretty expensive on Sweetwater anyway, we really appreciate if you just click the link, because we make money and it doesn't cost you anything.
I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking about upgrading Studio A with Apollo 16. I might just send us 5% back.
Dude,
there's a Cash App promo, and maybe I'll do cash it back on my credit card.
There you go.
I'll try to get all the cash backs together.
There you go. That's a great way to do it. And I feel like that's against the rules.
I think it is. I bet it would be.
Yeah. But anyway, so one more time, that is mixingmusicpodcast /.com / Sweetwater. But I'll have like, whenever we do like episodes about gear, I'll link the specific gear to like the information part of the podcast. Like in
Sweetwater doesn't have it the most closely related unit.
Sweetwater has everything. I love Sweetwater.
Yeah.
There's a reason why I reached out to them, is because by the way, dude, I love Sweet. No, I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but Sweetwater's the best. I love Sweetwater.
Don't love cookies. I get it.
Anyway, love y'all. Love being an engineer, man. Being a music producer is great. It's dude, that's another topic we could talk about maybe on a different episode, is I got a part-time day job from November to February for like 3 months, and there's a lot of great things I learned about it. And then that's a whole nother topic, we can get into it. I actually was like really, like, it really hurt my pride, and I didn't even talk about it. And then I did it, and now that it's done and I'm back to doing music full time again, dude, there's so many good things that I learned about both myself and I don't know about my career. I'm like really excited about it. That's probably one of the best things. My
an
mental
ego
health,
death in that sense really should help.
dude. My mental health is so much better now. It's crazy. It's crazy because I feel like I was really ungrateful about my music career, and then I did that, and it was like a really dope job. It was a great job. I loved it, and I still ended up wanting to do music, and then it made me realize how great it is.
To
My
do
regular
music,
to do music, so it's like I almost like quit music, and then now I like came back to it. It's like, oh my gosh, and like when I became grateful for this is a whole nother episode. When I became grateful for doing music again, like all of a sudden all the floodgates opened and every opportunity opened up, and dude, yeah, things just started happening, clicking back into place. Anyway, we'll get into that. This is a different episode, but if you're looking to engineer, if you're looking to produce, if you're looking to record, even if you're looking to mix eventually, it's a great thing. Location, man.
Oh yeah.
And on that note, we hope you all the success in the world. We hope you much happiness. We wish you much love, success, all the jazz. We hope that you continue to keep your head full of hair. And on that note, happy mixing, my friends, and stay saucy.
Head full of hair.
All right, dude.
Mama Bilal. Terrible topic, Kess.
Guess with the Q.
It's
Thank
Kess.
you. Huh?
It's actually Kess.
Kess?
Guess with a Q, Kess.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. There you go. Crossbone T, thank you for showing up. Mame Bilal, Noah, if you're still here, Ronald Chavez Music. Dude, thanks for showing up. Also, we hit our 800 followers mark, so maybe we got to end with a dance. Do you want to do a dance, Lou? We're going to do a dance.
What is this?
We got to do a dance. We got to do our dance, dude. Oh, here we go. Ready? Do you ready? We got to do our dance. This is our sign-off dance because we hit 800 followers. We reached our goal. Here it is. Hold on. And we always pick the cringiest music because that's all we know. Here we go. Ready?
All I know how to do is cringe.
Here we go. Hello, ready? You're just covered in the chat.
Chat's all on me. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking on Luke.
This song is so hard. This song is so hard.
It reminds me of like a kid's version of Mega Man that's more kids than kids. Like Mega Man was already for kids.
There it is. That's the end. Oh,
That was good cardio.
great cardio. All right. Well, on that note, happy mixing, my friends. Stay saucy. We'll see y'all next week. That episode will come out probably like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll figure it out. But that episode will come out soon. All right. Peace, y'all. Thank you.